One. Blast off.
Hey, welcome to the CoinSec Podcast. It's episode 45. Steve, where's the horn? Yeah!
We made
We're
it.
here. And we're live. And guys, all-time high. This is
Yay.
60, was it 66 something?
You got up past 67 for a bit there. Bitcoin.
I cashed out.
Yeah, I'm looking
You
at
know,
Lambos right now, actually.
That's it.
Ralph's looking at Lambos. He's got some added in his cart.
I'm just not sure if it's the 10 or the 12 for me. You know, V10, V12. It's
Go
just
12, dude. All-time high needs a 12 cylinder to celebrate it.
Yeah, I guess.
I thought you were buying
it's-
another rack for the hard drives you're going to get.
No. I want to go fast. I'm tired of spinning slow. I want to go fast.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty big news. Is right up front, like the overall crypto market cap crossed $2.63 trillion yesterday.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's higher than some countries' GDP or
GDP.
whatever I saw
Yeah.
the other day.
Yeah, it's
Insane.
crazy. Bitcoin crossed 67K, Ethereum crossed 4K. Pretty exciting stuff. And we're here to talk about all the bad stuff that happened.
Yeah, and we talked about before about Ethereum's bug and the hack, right? And the split. And to see it rebound to 4K is pretty amazing, right? We've seen other side chains and stuff just get wiped out from things like that. So cool. Happy to see it.
All-time
Oh, yeah.
high means all-time hacks, right? All-time high is
ATH.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's how it works. Oh, what did you say? If you haven't been hacked in crypto, then you probably haven't been around long enough.
Kind of a rite of passage, right? I mean, I guess Bitcoin is somewhat unimpeachable, but
Yeah, nobody's hacked Bitcoin.
Well, if you went back far enough, there
Yeah.
was something that happened. There was an issue where there was like a billion or so Bitcoins that were mined.
Mhm.
That was like super early on though. So
Nothing to worry about now.
Nothing to see.
a billion Bitcoins is how much money is that now? That's more than I can
that's more than a
imagine.
billion.
Yeah. That's more money than any one of us will see.
Weird.
Yeah, well, welcome guys. And, we've had a couple weeks off here. We had a couple things going on. We had what did we do last week? We had the 24-hour pre-show BanterCon
BB
thing,
Cat.
Yeah.
which was awesome. Dude, Corey and Steve made the best presentations of the entire 24-hour show.
The
In my
only
opinion.
Yeah, we had a combo
presentations.
presentation about cereal and Saturday morning cartoons on Saturday morning at the end
It
of
was
the 24-hour stream. So that was
epic.
pretty glorious.
It
Absolutely
was
epic.
pretty good. Not quite as good as Bo's live set, though, that he
Whatever.
Yeah.
did.
That wasn't Bo. That was no bandwidth, dude. I don't know who Bo is.
Yeah, who's Bo?
That's right. There was no bandwidth, and it was no shit.
There's a guy that looks
So.
just like him, though. That's all we know.
It's an actor. Stand in.
Yeah, it was fun. It was good to actually like play an instrument for once, not just sit in front of a computer and click away.
Beep, beep, beep.
But yeah, so welcome to the show, everyone. And if you would like to follow along with the articles we're going to go through today, you can check the show notes out at coinsecpodcast.com. And we've got a few pretty interesting stories today. We've got some bug bounty payouts we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about some hacks. We're going to talk about some cases where OPSEC was not taken into consideration for a few different illegal activities that were performed. And those guys are probably going to jail. And then what else are we talking about? Yeah, just lots of hacks, lots of exploits. And yeah, let's get started. Let's jump right in. The first article that we're going to talk about this week is how Polygon actually just paid out a $2 million bug bounty to somebody who found a vulnerability in their platform that allegedly would have saved about $850 million. So
But yeah, let's see. What's 850 divided by 2? So he only got,
yeah,
he could have gotten
it straight up.
He could have gotten almost 500 times more money if he was bad.
Right.
Although I guess he could have gotten nothing, right? It's like it's classic gambler, right? You decide do you take the bug bounty payout, which is legal, or do you keep the hack money, which is illegal? 600 million versus 2. I don't know.
I don't know. I'd have a hard time running with 850 million Polygon.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
Network.
What are you gonna do? Hey, can I have a fake ID? I'll pay you in Polygon. Sorry, what is that?
Well, and you own all of it, so it's like what value does it have at that point if you have all of it?
That's true. That's true. Yeah, that's an interesting point. It's like I am the currency. Hello, I'm Polygon.
Yeah, I think he took the right choice there, taking that
so
2 million.
This is the biggest bounty then, right? I think last time we were on the show, we talked about the biggest then was like $1 million. Somebody got paid out.
Yep.
At least for crypto stuff, it's got to be up there, right? That's so much. $2 million. I mean, I guess it's good on them that they actually ended up paying out, because he could have kept the money. He could have just stomped their company into the ground, right? So.
Yeah, I know for sure this is definitely the largest payout in the crypto world. I don't know about worldwide, of all the payouts that have happened, but I mean, it's huge, right? It's a huge bounty. So this vulnerability, the actual details around it, basically was a double spending vulnerability. It allowed an attacker to deposit over 200K worth of USD tokens to this deposit manager, and they could So in the example they walk through, 200K is like a minimum amount that it would take to actually carry out this exploit. So it's not a cheap exploit to carry out by any means, right? But in doing so, they could walk away with almost over 200 times that amount. So they could opt to utilize more initially to deposit to this deposit manager contract, and then what happens is it burns the actual tokens with a burn transaction on the Polygon network. Starts an exit from it, waits a 7-day challenge period, which actually the whole 7-day challenge thing, we'll talk about that in one of the articles later on today too, is such an odd, I guess, function to me. We've talked about time locks and stuff before, and I don't know. I think I don't know if it's necessary. Sometimes it feels like maybe we should figure out something better there. Anyways, there's a 7-day period that they have to wait. And then once that period's done, then it will process the exit and they'll get the initial funds back. So whenever that exit happens, there's a hex value that gets placed on the ID that's associated with that exit ID. And the way that the network was actually looking at that ID, it was taking away the first nibble or the first bite even of that value, and so they were able to generate 200 times 200 different values that actually matched the hex value, just simply taking away that first hex byte. So yeah, anyways, they were able to show how they could leverage that to replay that exit ID and actually extract the same value 223 times. So, if you put in $200,000 for this exploit, you would end up walking away with 44.6 million. So ultimately, they could have drained the entire thing depending on how much they started with.
Yeah, this seems a lot more complex than other exploits we've seen, right? So I think you were kind of going towards what I was going to talk about was the 7-day challenge period, which seems almost like a normal banking thing, right? You deposit a whole bunch of money, you can't touch it for 7 days or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I don't know why that's built into a smart contract like that, but it's a double spending bug, which is kind of like the whole premise behind blockchains, right? Is so that we don't have the ability to double spend. So the potential to do that is bad, very bad.
Yeah, so one of the articles later on we'll talk about, they put a fix in place for an issue, and they had a 7-day waiting period, and there's actually a second issue that kind of came out of them making this fix, and they were trying to keep it hush hush and just wait that 7-day period and hope that nobody found it. But somebody did find it, so yeah, that's coming up in a bit. But yeah, no, so that, yeah, it is a complex issue, this particular hack, especially the part around how they figured out how it was processing those hex characters, right?
Yeah, and then they hard coded their fix, which probably doesn't sound like a permanent fix. but hard coding any value into something like that that's trying to bypass that stuff is.
Are you telling me that an if statement is not a security control?
Right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
And like this actually, so this idea of taking a value and then removing pieces of it, like it's something that this is not the only places that I've seen this before. So like this particular example, they talk about how this exit ID, it's this hex string basically, right? And then they're taking away a first byte, which leaves it with zeros, right? So it's like nulled out essentially. And so like theoretically you could just fill up those bytes with anything, right? And it'll still match because they're going to null it out. So the other place I've seen this before is in function calls and transactions. So if you go to initiate a transaction and you're trying to call a function in a contract, one of the ways that you have to state which function you're actually talking to is by actually converting the function name and parameters into hex values. And so one of the things that you would do, like for example, like let's say you had a mint function in an NFT generating contract, right? So you would hex the word mint with the parameter like uint 256 or whatever, right? And then you only take the first 4 bytes of that though. So theoretically you could have something where you add in extra parameters, have a similar hex value that actually calls a different function. And I'm just thinking like, if there's something like this that it was already found in this kind of thing, I wonder if there's a similar issue in the way that functions get called in transactions like that.
Well, so the fix was just to check at some point during the contract, it checks whether the first start byte of that mask is 0, right? So I don't think you could overflow that. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's like you said, it's a hard-coded fix.
Alrighty, so I guess let's move on to the next one. Oh yeah, so this is actually perfect follow-up because this is actually that 7-day period issue that I was talking about. So we actually talked about Compound in the last episode we did. In episode 44, we talked about one of the first Compound issues, which was a bug where users could exploit a piece of the contract that was miscoded. It was one where it was one of the situations where you have like the like it should have been greater than or equal to in the contract, but it was just greater than issues. And so they made a fix, right? And what ended up happening is the network actually took a week to actually completely go through with the fix. And so they tried to keep it hush hush, and they didn't want anybody to find that there was like this other kind of like way of exploiting the same issue, but people did. And so basically about $90 million was mistakenly sent out to users of Compound. And the way this happened was they had like a reward system that they mistakenly provided too much value to. So users could actually like pull out their rewards and get, a ton of comp, more than they should have, more than their fair share.
So they couldn't control the recipients? Or like it says mistakenly gone out to users of Compound. Does that mean like the attackers couldn't control the recipients of the drip function, or like did it just go to random people, or no?
No, so I think like it's similar to like if you've done yield farming, right? Like if you're a farmer, I guess, right? Then your address has a certain amount of rewards that are due to you, right? From farming. And I guess those users, some specific ones of them, I don't know why, just there's like 5 of them, 5 addresses that could call this drip function to actually reload. I guess the comptroller is the main controller reservoir, if you will, that controls the values that can be sent out to people who get the rewards.
Yeah, and then they threaten you, saying that they're going to tell the IRS, and most of you are doxxed if you don't return the funds.
Yeah, so that was
CNBC article, right?
The creator, right, of the protocol he was basically saying, this is a mistake, and if you take this, this comp and run with it, and not just give it back, then we're gonna have issues. And I remember watching this on Twitter, and people kind of exploded about this particular thing, because the way he kind of stated it was like, hey, if you don't return all the comp that we just gave you for free, then we're gonna go to the IRS, and we know who you are, and we're gonna dox you.
Yeah, that's maybe an argument for why some of these crypto companies might need PR teams. Because that's pretty much like, so I'm going to try to piss off the whole internet today. How should I do it? I'm going to give them away free money because of my terrible coding, and then I'm going to threaten them if they don't give it back. Like, how not to tweet, basically.
Sounds like Tesla. Got rid of their PR team.
Yeah, maybe he was just trying to push down the price of compounds so he could buy more, so he could distribute.
There you go. Yeah. See, that's what I'm talking about. It's a bigger plan.
There's always an angle.
Mm-hmm. All right. I guess
next.
All right. Next up is StakeSteak.
Steak and Shake? Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's what I thought when I first read it. It was like Steak and Shake Act.
So I actually I'm I hate to say that I'm happy to talk about this issue, but I am, because it brings up a really important thing that I know some of us on this podcast have actually had happen to us ourselves. So StakeSteak was hacked because they leaked a private key on a GitHub repo.
Where's my horn?
That's more like
never happens.
wow.
Yeah, so the exploiters were able to gain access to the stake deployer account due to the private keys being visible on the initial commit from 5 months ago. They were publicly available on GitHub for 5 months. Attackers used it to basically steal about 200 grand. So not a crazy like $1 million hack, but it still brings up a great point here, right? Don't post your keys on your GitHub repos. If you're not looking at your code for things like that, you need to be, right? Like you should be checking often, right? Just to make sure that you didn't make a mistake like this.
So here's a question, Bo. Would this be found during a security assessment?
It depends on which kind of a security assessment it is, right? I mean, and if it's a general security review for let's say we're doing like a red team assessment for an organization, typically we'd find something like this, right? We like to go through GitHub repos. We like to look through the code. And the other thing that people need to keep in mind too is not only the current version of the code, but also the commit history, right?
Yeah, so, GitHub is notorious. It's really hard to actually.
I pushed my private key. Let me overwrite it real quick,
just
and
remove
it. Know.
But yeah.
That's called a change, and we can go back.
So another thing is, what about the protections? The 7-day waiting period, or the other was that in play here, or did they just burn 140 tokens in the blink of an eye?
Yeah, so that's something that hasn't been. It's not like a standard, right? There's no standard that says you have to wait 7 days. In this case, it looks like they found the key and then just leveraged it and burnt a certain number of tokens and drained the pool effectively.
It is funny though, right? I mean that they stole a bunch of they stole the money, but then they made the money worthless at the same time, right?
Kind of shooting yourself in the foot, right? Well, I mean, if you're faster than the market is,
I guess you could hopefully sell them off. But man, I don't know. I assume that right now
and some of these exchanges, once they steal them, they convert them right away to something else, or they use the exchange itself to do the conversion after they steal the token, and then they have some stable coin they just run off with. So
so it looks like they converted it to Phantom immediately, FTM. So they burned 140,000 stake tokens. They were able to mint that many, right? Because they had the key, and then they they used the stake tokens to drain the LP pool and came out with 80,000 FTM.
Yeah, usually by the time people realize that this has happened, it's already done. It's, you're just catching up, and you're living your life. You're like, what? I was in, oh shoot, I need to, so.
Yeah, as for StakeSteak, I think in one of these articles they point out that they're actually going to be rebranding as like Singularity or something like that after this.
Steak and Shake, they've missed an opportunity.
Yeah, really, it should be the stake coin, and you can get a, you can get a, what do they call it again? Frisco melt or whatever. I forget what they're called. You can scan your QR code and get a free shake if you show that your balance is more than 5 in Steak Shake. What was it? Steak and Shake?
Oh, Jesus, dude.
So yeah, Singularity guys, like as you change your name and stuff, make sure that, with your future transactions and hosting of your code, you don't host your Git keys or your private keys.
I got one Steak and Shake burger says this happens again. All right.
It's a Frisco melt, dude. Or patty. I forget what they're called. They have something.
Patty melt? Yeah.
I forget what it is, but they're actually kind of good.
We used to have a Steak and Shake nearby. They closed that one down too.
Yeah. So they probably published their Git key.
Yeah, that's right.
You got to get out of the slumps. You got to get into.
They published the secret sauce key, right?
With all-time high, I'm moving out of the ghetto.
The recipe for our milkshakes has been leaked on GitHub.
Cold.
All right. Next up, we've got Rocketpool and Lido Vuln. So, White Hat Dmitry Tsumak, founder of StakeWise, submitted a critical vulnerability on October 5th that affected the Rocketpool and Lido Finance staking platforms. So this one's actually pretty interesting. This one took me a bit to kind of grasp what's going on here. But the gist of it is that you could spin up a malicious node. And because these are both ETH 2.0 staking pools, they could leverage that node to perform a front-running attack. So, ETH 2.0 is still very new, right? And it's still very much like some place that we're going soon. And, Ethereum's going to be moving over to it. And that's, we were talking about it earlier, kind of the move from proof of work to proof of stake, right? More stake.
Oh, we love it.
Not affiliated with Steak and Shake.
Exactly. Yeah, so proof of stake, right? And with proof of stake, the concept there is that instead of using computational like mining power, where you have like computers that are actually performing the transactions and doing the mining, you have these staking pools where you actually stake currency, right, and show that you own a piece of that currency in order to have a say in the transactions validity or not. So one of the things with this particular issue is that node operators were able to steal user deposits. So those actual stakes, right? Like, so as somebody goes to stake on your node, this particular vulnerability would have allowed the node operator themselves to front run your transaction and actually end up stealing from you. So the way that worked is it was required to have 32 ETH to do a stake, right? So if you wanted to stake an ETH 2.0, it took 32 ETH to deposit to their official like deposit contracts. And what you would do is as an attacker, you would host this node, and then you would wait for the 32 ETH to be submitted from a user who wants to stake their currency, right? And then what would happen is as the validation process goes through, the node operator could see that transaction coming in and then front run it and actually deposit less. So they would actually deposit like 1 ETH and then keep the rest of it. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting front running attack, right? Like we've talked about front running a few times. Usually it's on the smart contract side where we're like watching transactions that are sent to the network and then front running those transactions. In this case, it's basically front running from the node's perspective.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So how did they fix it? Did they change the keys between the two transactions, or because like it says that they have the same validator key? How did they fix this?
That's a good question. I did not read that far down.
I would assume they just rotate the keys, right? So the node can't use the same key to deposit the funds, right?
Here you go, vulnerability fix. So Rocketpool is currently on testnet and is working on a fix with its auditors. Lido has already implemented a temporary fix. Lido decided to temporarily lower staking limits to currently staked amounts. This will result in disallowing the next deposits for currently staked amounts.
So you can't do like 32, and then I'm like, no, actually 1.
Right.
That's cool. It is interesting they're using auditors to pre-audit the code before deploying the fix, right? So it's like the fix it's not just a hard-coded, if it's 0, don't run the contract, right? It's more complex than that. It's like an actual function change, or like a change in the way the smart contract really operates, or not even contract. I guess it's like the node code, right? It's like the node transaction processing code. Either way, if your significant other says they're going to build a pool and Ethereum 2.0 is out, you got to be careful. I'm going to build a pool. I just need however much 32 ETH is, 32 times 4. That's a lot of money. It's an expensive pool. Pools are expensive. I don't know what to tell you.
That's true. And I think it locks it up for a while too, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, I think it's like at least a few months.
All right, moving on. So the next one was another story that got quite a bit of news. So Indexed Finance got hacked for $16 million.
Ouch.
So this was on October 14th. An attack took place that targeted the D55 and CC10 pools from Indexed Finance, and also heavily affected the Future of Finance Fund. This attack... the attack exploited the way index pools are rebalanced. So the attacker was able to take advantage of the above by using a flash loan. So they use flash loans for this particular attack, right? Draining the pool by, let's see, buyout uni, decreasing the extrapolated value due to the delay, and updating uni's weight decrease. So after calling the update minimum balance function using the gamed pool value, the controller valued the pool at just 29,851 sushi, so around 300K. Once prepared, the attacker could deposit a relatively small amount of now heavily overweighted sushi into the pool, minting a massively inflated number of D55 tokens in return.
So first of all, are flash loans I'm trying to think of a good vulnerability. Are flash loans the MSO 8067 of crypto? Like seriously, it's like every time I hear a flash loan, I just assume it's associated with a hack. Like, will companies or will they learn to just not implement a flash loan feature? Like, is it that bad, or is it just... Why is it so? Is it because they're all stealing the same code? Why is this such a common thing that we hear about flash loans being used for hacks?
I would say that it's because they want to provide, similar functionality, right? Like that other pools have. Like they want
feature parity.
Yeah, it's features, right? Like they're trying to enable the same features, right? Like if I could go to one pool and do a flash loan and get $1 million, right, to leverage for trading, but I can't do it on your pool. Why would I go to your pool? Yeah, I think that's probably the thought process there.
So this is also the one you mentioned before about the OPSEC of the attacker, right?
Yeah,
Maybe they made a little slip up.
Yeah, so this is one that was interesting because I was watching them tweet about this, and they're like, "We know who he is," and like it was exciting. We're like, "Who is it?" And then they're like, "Oh, we can't tell you who it is because we're pretty sure they're under 18."
Oh God.
Yeah. So, anyways,
hack Twitter was too.
Yeah. So they put out this this like. So the second article I have in the show notes there, the HackMD article. So that one actually is like this ultimatum, right? So or they presented an ultimatum to to the hacker, right? And we're like, hey, you need to, negotiate with us, or you're gonna have a bad day, because we have quite a bit of trail to follow you. And like we should let's walk through this a bit, because there's some interesting things in here that they did. And again, like this is a lot of this is, it's stuff that I, definitely I wouldn't say could like hold up in a court of law by any means, but it's things that, when you start looking at the pieces, it's like, oh yeah, it's definitely like the same account or same user. There was one thing in here that they did. So like they found a GitHub profile of this guy, M-Theory Lord 1. I say guy, but who knows? Could be girl. M-Theory Lord 1. So they registered on code 423N4. So C4, it's a popular like bug bounty platform, right? Like, so if we've got like Immunify, C4 is another one where you can submit bug bounties. So this person already had some knowledge, right, behind. At least they knew of like smart contract auditing and whatnot. And this account had no previous or future activity on GitHub. However, searching the username yielded another account, M-Theory Lord, which they created a repository in 2016 called Grade 12 Project. So this establishes that the account is likely owned by someone outside the US in their 12th grade, just finishing high school in 2016. And then looking at the commit history made, there wasn't much, but they found an email address. And so like this is one of those things with GitHub, right? Like is you can typically get people's email addresses of their GitHub accounts, right? And so they got this person's email account, somebody that includes a domain of a high school in Hamilton, Ontario. Then searching the username again, they found an account by the username M-Theory Lord on Stack Exchange, which has been active since 2016. And that they had started a master's degree in mathematics somewhere. Hold on, it gets more interesting than this stuff. So there's a Wikipedia account. There's personal websites. So googling the name, they found a website that was tied to this person. There was So once we get down to like the Discord section, is where things get a little bit interesting. So the attacker who they had already established contact with this Discord handle, Bogholder1688. So apparently, like even before the hack happened, this Bogholder1688 had already been contacting them, asking them details about the platform. So they'd already been like in contact, but like from an educational perspective, they're like, oh yeah, this is how it works. Like this is how the protocol is meant to be used and stuff. And so like they were actually having
flash loan.
Yeah, seriously. No, so they were actually having like legit conversations with this user. And then let's see. So they 20 minutes before the ultimatum deadline, the personal website was put back online with references to cryptocurrency stripped out. So the guy had a personal website that they stripped out all the references to cryptocurrency. It contained a resume which stated the owner of the website's birthday, which indicated he is currently 18 years old. We searched again for his name. Let's see. The name of the school reference matches the domain. And then the ultimate connection piece here that I was like, oh yeah, this is probably like a legit connection. So several weeks prior to the attack, they had that communication with Bogholder, right? Talking about an arbitrage bot, which like that's exactly what
that's what front running's for, right? Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, to do the flash loans, to do arbitrage.
Not front running flash loans, yeah.
And so as this was an area that no one else had developed bots for, we were excited someone was taking a deep interest in the protocol to develop such a bot, and even hoped we could work with him on other aspects of the project in the future. We offered to send him a $2,000 bounty if he would agree to share the code. And then,
but he already asked for math on the attack. Sadly,
they asked for an Ethereum address, to send funds to, and he sent an address. All right, so he sent this Ethereum address. The address was only known by 3 people: Lawrence, Dylan, and the attacker. So they sent him $2,000, right? And after they had learned the let's see. What do you say? Oh, he deleted the chat logs after the attack. So they sent him $2,000. Then he immediately deleted the Discord chat logs.
And took the money and ran.
Yeah, like $2,000 ran. And so after they learned the identity of the attacker and proven that we had identified him, they sent him an email. So they emailed that address from GitHub, right? So like the one that they had tied to the GitHub user, right? So they emailed that address and they replied with the same Ethereum address, the exact same Ethereum address. So they were able to tie the Discord user that was already talking to them, right? That
to the Ethereum address, and then
to the
also
Ethereum
to his
address.
personal email.
And then Ethereum address to his personal email.
So
Smart.
really bad OPSEC.
Yeah.
Really bad OPSEC.
But also, I mean, really good coding. I mean, you gotta give credit.
I mean, 18. Crazy.
Yeah, I guess if the Discord doesn't fit, you must have quit. you gotta get the Discord piece in there.
Oh, definitely.
And I mean, again, like I'm not sure any of this is like, hold up in court kind of stuff, but
right.
I mean, it's definitely a lead, right?
I mean, after you subpoena the records for, where'd you get this money from, right? Like,
Discord
so
whoever.
did he end up returning the money for that 50K, or did he take that and run too?
I think he just took it and run. So from what I read in the tweet kind of flurry of this is that he was of the mindset that code is law, right? Like that's one of the recurring themes that you'll hear a lot in smart contracts and in cryptocurrency, right? Is like this whole idea of code is law, meaning that the code says I can do this attack. Like technically all I did was leverage your functionality to do a flash loan to take out this currency and then exploit the contract logic itself, right? Like there was no, like I didn't access somebody's system maliciously, I didn't phish anybody, you know what I mean? Like that's kind of like where this kind of weird gray area is, right? Like literally the code says I can do it, right?
The code didn't say explicitly you can do this, and it's not a gray area. It's like the car was running, so obviously it was ready to be driven, so I drove it away. No.
It's all about. It comes down to intent, right? What was your intent?
I think they have enough evidence to show malicious intent, right?
Malicious intent, yes.
And obviously it'll be interesting to see if it ever plays out in court. If it plays out, because like, for example, the $2,000 or the $50,000, like that, it's not like he signed a contract, right? It was just like an email that said like, hey, we'll return the money if you give us 50K. And he's like, sure, whatever. Like, give me the 50K. And then he just ran away.
Yeah. And any of this stuff, it all becomes down to civil, right? So whether a law was broken is irrelevant. Like a civil versus criminal, right? So, and again, they're just going to sue him. And if they have enough money to continue that process, then he'll have to show up to court.
Well,
he'll have to go through
so you never know.
Well, they could retain a lawyer in Canada and say that, they took money from us and, we have the evidence to prove it. And then they bring him to court and then he has to show up. And then, it becomes this whole civil process. And that's how, this goes. Right. And, at some point, a judge may say, hey, you have to give the money back. And they don't. And then it goes from there. Right. So who knows?
So how many of these cases with smart contract exploits and stuff have we seen go to court, A, and B, be prosecuted?
None.
Say zero.
None that I know of, but I'm sure they're in the queue, right?
Yeah, it's going to happen. Somebody's going to get.
This is going to be an interesting one. This might be the first one, though, right? Because it's in a first. It's one country.
So what's funny is yes, like the exploits. I don't think we've seen it, but Silk Road, Ross Ulbricht, absolutely. Like they found him and put him in jail.
Well, but they put him in jail on charges related to his actions.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well,
exactly.
He went to jail not for even running Silk Road. He went to jail for getting a hit on someone, right? Like he went to jail for things that he did, not for things that his code. But there's no law. Yeah. There is a law against trying to kill people, right? There's a law against hiring someone to kill someone, but there's not necessarily a law against using flash loans. Yeah, there's not necessarily. It's like Bo said. It's not. The code isn't. It's not like a bug, or I guess it is kind of a bug. But
it's a bug. Yeah.
no systems were accessed, though, right? It's like it comes down to the way they've written the laws, which are probably pretty outdated, right? Like, Computer Fraud and Abuse Act in the U.S., we have like, was performance impacted or were systems accessed? I guess you could argue in the U.S. at least you could say, well, the systems of the currency were impacted negatively, and the company ultimately, was impacted negatively.
Was money stolen though?
Yeah.
I mean, usually, like in the computer fraud and abuse, it's like, was money stolen? Like that.
Well, he definitely stole the 50K and the 2K at the very least. Although he didn't, like, it's not like that was a contract he signed. But
yeah, but like I was saying, that becomes now civil as opposed to like criminal. So hey, you owe us money, and then like I said, that process.
That's where, yeah.
Yeah, and that process and how they get the money back, they may never get the money back, even if they go through some, litigation where they actually have to make him show up to court and stuff like that, and he might just be like, well, I don't know where it went and stuff. So, I mean, like, I don't know how that actually all plays out. But when it comes to money, you're not going to serve necessarily jail time unless they can prove that you committed a crime outside of,
Well, dude, even then, right? Like Bo said with the code is law thing, he can argue that, like, your code was negligent. Right, your code was like, it was inefficient it worked improperly, and I just took advantage of that. Right, it's like,
yeah, I didn't even take advantage of it. I used the code. I used your code end of day, and it did this. Is that my problem or your problem? Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's like
it'll come down to like a case precedence, whether there's been a case like that before, and if they can reference that.
The only analogy I can think of is like companies that have famously done things that ended up losing the money. Like, American Airlines in the 80s sold those like 100K infinite travel passes. and you could fly lifetime first class for free if you bought a ticket for 100K. And there's a few people that have taken that and used it for millions and millions and millions of dollars in flights. And they've never, it's like the companies were able to go after the people or cancel their things, right? Like, they were just using, like, the company offered it and the person purchased it, right? Like, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if it ever ends up in court. It'll be interesting to see how the syrup drinkers take that one on.
Yeah, and then the last piece, when I said about running the litigation, all the other fun stuff, blah 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 blah. Like, dude, $10,000 in litigation, that's a joke, right? So, like, they could end up losing more money trying to get back, So, yeah.
I will also add that Discord does log IP address, by the way. So
yeah, well, that's what I said when he said talking about subpoenas. That's the first thing I said. Discord.
Yeah. No,
well, they already found the guy's IP. They already found his IP. That was part of the like, company tracking him down. They already found his IP. So,
I think is funny is
not attribution.
I don't think anyone can be truly anonymous on the internet if, for example, the federal government wants to fine you. Like that's there's no end to that that process. And so, somebody, if Discord gets subpoenaed by the federal, I mean, I'm just throwing this out there, like in like the Ross Alderberg example, right? If Discord gets subpoenaed, they're going to give that information to the U.S. federal government. They're a U.S. company. Same with Apple and all these other people, right? They're just going to divulge that information immediately, and everything that they have. Their job is not to protect you. Their job is to adhere to the law, and that's how it's going to work. So,
yeah, who knows? It'll be very interesting. Like Steve said, we've never seen anything like this or even close to it in an actual court. So. I'm guessing it would be similar to, if you guys remember the Facebook hearings, where they're like, what is a phone? Can you explain to me what a phone is? Like, imagine like a 7-year-old judge being like, okay, I understand what a loan is, but what the hell is a flash loan? I don't get it. That's like day 1 through 20 of the court case is just explaining the basics.
Just explaining it.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, you're totally right. It's never going to go that far. I honestly don't think it's going to go that far.
Let alone the jury, dude. The jury's like, so wait, what? How
does this have to do with syrup?
Who stole?
Who's swapping pancakes?
Wait, so like they get together on the internet and they send each other pancakes?
What is Discord? Is that like Zoom but for teens?
You are guilty of confusing me.
Guilty of using.
Is there edible 3D printer material now?
Oh gosh,
Yeah, really.
delicious.
The first 2 months of the court case are just explaining the technology.
Oh man.
That's actually a really good topic about how our laws are nowhere near where they need to be as far as dealing with this stuff, right? Like we're very far behind. So
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, and even precedents. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember the Android cases against Oracle. Do you remember all that? That was sort of a landmark case about code reuse and things like that, where basically Android had reused a lot of the Java, like obviously it's a Java virtual machine that runs like all the apps, and they had reused a lot of the code, and that was like a big court case, and it took like years for the judges to be able to understand like how does code reuse work, how does a library work, how does that, what does that ultimately mean for the people who wrote the code versus the people who own it, intellectual property and free use and all that stuff. It was just like a disaster. So with crypto, it's going to be 10 times worse.
Oh yeah. Can't wait for the senators to get involved. It's going to be great. What is a phone?
What is this Facebook? Is it like the Library of Congress has faces now? I don't understand.
Oh, why is mine not in there? All right.
All right, moving on. All right, next up, Pancake Hunny. Speaking of pancakes.
Twice.
I love
in the
them.
news. No.
Oh God. If it ain't pancake, it's honey.
Combine the two.
All press is good press, right?
I guess you're right.
Tell that to StakeSteak.
Yeah, tell that to the people holding Pancake token right now. Right?
Yeah.
Bog holder.
Pancake Hunny.
So approximately $1.9 million stolen, made possible due to a profit inflation bug, which converts a relatively small amount of harvested alpaca. I know
I'd make an alpaca noise, but I don't know what they sound like.
Yeah.
Steve, just do your best. No one will call you on
they just sound like the wah, wah, wah.
I'd make like a Wookiee noise. Or something.
Yeah, that's probably accurate.
Yeah, it's close.
So they harvested alpaca to large amount of TUSD for staking. Then these converted TUSDs were then counted as profit, now inflated to mint large amount of honey. So they again flash loans. They used 53 Bitcoin flash loan from Cream Finance. Hey, they're still around, I guess, after getting hacked. 3 weeks ago or a month ago, to get 2.7
Bitcoins
TUSD loan from Venus, and then 50 different wallet addresses to deposit 38,000 TUSD into Hunter TUSD Vault. So,
yeah.
Ryan? Can you pull up a graph of the Pancake Hunny price?
Oh yeah.
Just so we can visualize what getting hacked might do.
I think this was the graph here. It was bad.
It's also in there above that.
He's dead, Jim.
CoinGecko.
Yeah, so I think this was it. See that red line?
It's a bad day.
I don't know if you can visualize this,
God,
but it's bad.
So wait, I can't stack alpacas anymore, can I?
No, all the honey is gone. It's gone.
Tell my wife, babe, I did it. I put all of our money into the honey pot. It's gonna go. I swear. There it went.
It's only down 700% or whatever.
Yeah. What was Pancake Hunny used for in the first place? I think it was used for.
So there is a.
They're like a.
What's it, like a casino, like an online
casino?
Yeah. So you can go in there and deposit Pancake Hunny tokens and play their games and stuff like that. So their games are half off now.
Yeah.
Rough.
Yeah. Imagine you just playing your game. You're like, oh yeah, I'm winning. Oh yeah, I'm up. What? This honey's worth nothing. It's worth nothing. Oh my God, dude. The worst day ever.
We'll see. They've been through 2 now, so I don't know if they'll fully recover. But
good time to buy if you think they can somehow survive.
Yeah.
Right.
Corey, you made a good point. Like when's it going to get to like the point where people aren't using flash loans at all anymore?
Mhm.
And I almost wonder if we're going to start seeing this as like a finding on reports, right? Like an audit report.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like flash loans allowed is seriously
warning.
like a
Your contract allows flash loans.
Like an informational finding that just says note. A lot of attacks rely on flash loans to succeed. So if you allow
and it just lists out like 30, attacks.
This could be you.
The problem is, I mean, but it does this hack specifically demonstrates that it's kind of like strength in numbers or the weakest link, because this hacker didn't pull flash loans from Pancake Hunny, right? They pulled flash loans from other sources and used them, right? It's like
yeah, that's kind of what a point I wanted to say was that they're not attacking the Honey token itself, right? So it's not like there's a flaw in that smart contract or that contract that operates the token. It's the pool, right, that they flash loaned and got them the coins from. So
they had a CERC audit. So this is the audit that they did. It's public. You can view the PDF and stuff, and you can see the current things that are in there.
What's that?
Obviously,
flash loan attack. Huh.
Yeah, the score has gone down a little bit. But yeah, so this is like one of the few bigger audit firms that you can do for smart contracts and other things like that. And it takes a while to do these audits, obviously, but yeah. So
you can see which Solidity code was audited in those, and I don't know if the code for this was included in that, right? So you'd have to go look.
Yeah, I mean, I think more than anything, the flash loan thing is a deterrent, right? Allowing flash loans is it lets people do these attacks. Otherwise, they would have had to have 53 Bitcoin.
They'd have to have the cash.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a deterrent. It's not like it prevents the actual attack. It just lowers the impact of it. I mean, it's like a compensating control or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I mean, like you could do a 51% attack if you had enough money, right? It's true, but because that amount of money is so ridiculous, depending on the coin, it's just not worth it.
Well, and that's why for those 51% attacks, we've seen those happen from NiceHash in the past, right? So people, they didn't really have the GPU power to do it themselves, so they just go buy it on the marketplace. Right. So kind of a similar.
Yeah. But I guess my point is that there's a lot of attacks that can happen in crypto and in real life if you have enough money. But a lot of times the reason that they're so rare is because that amount of money is not common. And most people who have it aren't looking to do whatever it is.
Sure. Like if I want to go rob Joe's Crab Shack on the corner, it's probably a soft target. But if I go down the street to the bank with 2 armed guards, I'm going to need a little bit more funding to perform that attack, right? So,
yeah.
Well, you can get a flash loan for criminal gear, right?
Criminal gear.
I mean, like, think about it this way. Here, just put it in one perspective. If the flash loan attack is successful only if you have $1 trillion, no one's going to do it, right? Like, if you had to have the $1 trillion or even, whatever, be more $1 billion, right? But you had to have $1 billion to do it. It's just not going to happen. So
yeah, I mean, it's
I kind of agree with you, Corey.
The bug is profit inflation. So if you put in less money, you inflate it less, right? Less is lost. Flash
loans are bad. I think that's what we're.
I'm not saying they're bad. I just think they're a lot of the times easy targets to be used against other. It's like DNS imp or one of those. Like this isn't a vulnerability in your DNS server, but I can use your server to DDoS people. So it's not great for you.
I guess really the bigger question is like, how beneficial is it to these exchanges to have flash loans? And I don't really know the answer to that, but I have a feeling though that in a lot of the scenarios, it doesn't really support their business model to the point where like not or having it would affect them being in existence.
Or you could put limits, like maybe borrowing 53 Bitcoins is a little, that's a lot. That's a lot of Bitcoins to just be like.
Yeah, but think of it from the platform's view. If they're getting a percentage of that, bring them. Yeah. The more you bring, the better, because they've got millions of reasons to allow flash loans, right?
They got to pay 13,000% APR to keep people in their pool. So
13,000% APR. Daily.
Not as much as you would think.
Daily compounded.
Daily compounded to get money in your pool, right? That's seriously the rates that they'll offer sometimes to get people to buy into their pools. So
I was thinking, I wonder if there's any way to like do like micro flash loans, like where you could allow people to pull out like a small amount and then track like how many transactions they're doing at a time, right? So like they could do leverage trading, but like in a much smaller capacity. And if they're start doing like some shady shit, like then you would shut it down,
Yeah, I mean,
instead
it's just the crypto thing where there's no humans. There's like, if you go to the bank and you're like, hello, I need a loan of $40 million. They're like, no.
Why? Where are you
Because there's a
sending it
human
to?
involved. Yeah. But if you're like, hey, I need to borrow $1,000, they're like, okay, here's a personal loan. With crypto though, there's no human being like, why do you need it? They're like, well, the code says you can borrow $40 million. So
That's true.
Yeah, here you go.
Code is law.
Code is law. Yeah,
it's law. We've established it.
All right, I'm getting that banner back there.
Yeah, there's no person. There's no person sitting there at the crypto exchange being like, "Why do you need this money? Are you going to start an ice cream shop?" Like
that should be.
Like at the ATM.
I need $40 million for my lemonade stand, please.
Yeah, the funny thing is, it's probably used mostly for bots. It's like, my robot needs $40 million. Like,
guys, we have to make a CoinSec shirt that says "Code is law," and then there's just like a chart of like the token price dropping at the end of it. So it's like the code is law.
Code is law.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, no, it actually be code is law in the front, and then the chart on the back, just
nice
to the bottom.
I like it. All right, so next story. CreatureToadz hack. This one was kind of unique. So this wasn't a smart contract hack. This was an NFT Discord server hack. So
got him on the webhook.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys like in the NFT world at all, but like pretty much every NFT project you have a Discord server. Like they always have a Discord server. You get in the Discord server, and then like they announce all the the drop date shit in Discord.
Mm-hmm.
So with this particular one, somebody that was a mod of this Discord got compromised, and so far I don't think there's a whole lot of details out about it, but apparently there was a webhook URL that they were using for I guess like to connect Twitter to post things in the Discord chat. So like you'd have this like webhook that I guess like it's an API, right? That you could send data to Discord. So if you wanted to send tweets,
when you tweet, it announces it in Discord.
Exactly. Yeah. So somebody was watching a stream, and the person, I guess like the mod, had accidentally shown this URL, right? Like so somebody was able to use that URL to now post things in this Discord as the mod, right? And the reason that's really bad is because first of all, there's like rampant scams when it comes to Discord servers and NFTs. Like I'm in probably like, I don't know, like 25 or 30 at the moment. And it's literally at the time you join one of these Discord servers, if you don't disable direct messages, it's almost immediate that you're getting DM'd by some bot that's trying to sell you something or trying to tell you, oh, hey, thanks for joining Discord. Here's the mint URL, and we're doing pre-sale and you got to go mint here. It's crazy. Like it's like rampant scams. But so with that being said, the trust that a lot of people have comes from the mods and the people that actually control the Discord, right? Like who can you trust if you can't trust them, right? So if you see a message come from them, it generally seems like that's like a legit thing, right? Like it should be, like unless somebody gets compromised, right? And so somebody was compromised in this case, and what they did is they posted a fake minting page, right? So they posted a fake minting page and told this Discord server that it's time to mint. And so the thing is like the NFT space, everyone's rushing like hardcore right now to like be the first to get to the mint page and all that stuff, right? So the second that happened, everyone was like, oh my god, you got to go buy now. And so they did. And how much ETH did they end up getting? It was like
90
ETH. Yeah,
it's 350 grand or so.
Yeah.
A little more. Yeah. I mean, it's funny. Yeah, with the minting, it makes sense why it's such a common scam, because you have to move really fast and you have to use really high fees, right? And really high tips. Like you have to be first, and you have to be the most like juicy to get the NFT. So. Why isn't it called Battletoads? Why is it CreatureToadz?
That's common. Like they steal things. Like there's like, I don't know, 20 variations of punks at this point.
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah.
It should be Battletoads. Like they can afford the IP for that, right?
You know how many kittens there are too? There's like a bazillion kittens. It's kittens everything.
Yep.
And bunnies. Bunnies are really popular too.
Returned the funds and went on Twitter Spaces to talk about it publicly. That's fun.
Oh yeah, so this is the other part of it, right? So this person actually ended up returning the funds, and the thing that I think is absolutely mind blowing to me is they were hosting a Twitter Spaces talking about this hack, right? The actual hacker, the guy who stole this webhook URL and stole the money from people and then gave it back, he got on a Twitter Spaces and talked about it. So there's actually audio of this guy talking about this hack, and he's just basically like, I was bored and needed something to do.
So I think this highlights a cultural shift where now people care more about clout and notoriety than they do about like cold hard cash. You know what I mean? Like people want 1 million TikTok followers more than they want 300 grand. Like that's just the world we live in now. Like especially Gen Z. Gen Z is like, I don't care about money, dude. Get me clout. That's what I want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, last story for today. So this one's kind of interesting. So OpenSea is one of the main like NFT trading platforms out there. So OpenSea is a very popular website for buying and selling of NFTs. And on the marketplace, you can host anything from like a JPEG, PNG, GIF file, SVG. Like there's a lot of formats that are supported. And
a lot of user input.
What's that?
I said a lot of user input.
Yeah, a lot of user input, right?
We know that user input is usually safe, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So some researchers at Checkpoint found that they could upload a malicious SVG with JavaScript. Now, it would take a little bit to actually exploit this issue, right? Or to exploit this thing where it's not just like, hey, it's you open your wallet now it's like compromising you, or open the site now it's compromising you. So one of the things that's kind of interesting about NFTs and the way it works is like you can send NFTs to anybody, right? And it's just tied to their wallet. So the next time they go log in to a site like OpenSea, it just shows up. So like, for example, if I had a malicious NFT and I wanted to compromise Corey, I could just send it to you. And the next time you go to OpenSea and you're like, shopping for NFTs, you have this brand new one that just popped up in your wallet and it's just there, right?
I want to see what it is. I should download it.
Well, yeah. So yeah, so that's what it would take, right? So it literally would take you clicking on the image, which would open it up in like a new tab, which would actually execute the actual JavaScript part of it. Like it doesn't execute like in the OpenSea interface.
It's not like an Adobe PDF one-click exploit from back in the day.
Yeah, and as far as I saw, the SVG opens up a remote HTML file, right? So that it's kind of like a fish. So that remote HTML is a fake MetaMask landing page, right? Mm-hmm. So it has the JavaScript to pop up and talk to the wallet, right?
Yeah, I mean it's interesting when you're using a browser.
Or was it a fake
wallet.
Paid? Yeah, so
I think it's real. I think the transaction is real, right?
The transaction is real, yeah.
Yeah, it's basically saying send a real transaction in MetaMask. Right?
Yeah, so that's the other step, right? So you would have to click it, which opens it up a new tab, pops MetaMask, and you have to actually follow through that transaction, right?
Right.
So like it's not like it's just going to drain your funds, but it is something that people click through that stuff, especially if they're making a lot of transactions. Sometimes people click through and they don't even look at it.
And it's all irreversible completely. So.
Well, and the other thing too is like with OpenSea, you kind of are authenticated using MetaMask. So every once in a while, you do get pop-ups that look like transactions, but it's really just like you're signing something to say that you are you, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So people are kind of trained a little bit to click that button, right, to sign. One thing that I think is interesting is like this is probably the first example of like an actual weaponized NFT, though.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen arguments on Twitter about this because people are like, oh yeah, like there's no way like an NFT being sent to you could ever harm you, like it's just a file on the blockchain, right? But this is a legit case where somebody could send you a malicious file, have it stored in your wallet, and depending on how you follow through with that, I mean, the other thing, think about it this way: like, what if they didn't try to submit a MetaMask transaction? They just did a browser hook. Like Beef.
Right.
Like, what if just did that instead? Like, that's still really bad.
Yeah. I mean, anytime you can get someone to visit a page, that's considered a win, right? So, I mean, there's infinite possibilities once you get someone on a page that you control.
Yep.
And I know OpenSea has done some work to prevent anonymously sent NFTs to your wallet. So there have been a lot of people that have just been spamming accounts, basically, where they just send their own NFT to a super popular person like Snoop Dogg or whatever, and then hope that people see that and they're like, oh, Snoop owns that one, I better buy some of those, and so OpenSea has started actually hiding those ones that people just randomly send.
Yeah, I mean, it probably should have some kind of interaction where it says X person sent you an NFT. Would you like to accept it? Right? Not just
send to the abyss.
The same thing happens to me on Ravencoin's blockchain as well. I get sent NFTs and tokens and stuff like that randomly, and it just litters your wallet.
There was one, I don't know if we talked about it on the show or not, but there was one ERC20 token recently where they sent it to your wallet, so they airdropped it to you, right? Just like what you're talking about. And the only place to trade it, if you Googled where to trade it, took you to this really shady site where if you actually tried to trade it, it steals all of your ETH. So be careful.
That's like a watering hole attack for crypto, right? You could do the same thing where you could say, we were talking before the show about how some of these tokens like Chive or Chia are impossible to trade on open markets. You could make a watering hole attack where you're like, trade Chia here in the US, and it's just a siphon or whatever you want to call it. It just sucks all the money that people send to it. But don't do that. I take no responsibility if anyone does that. It was not my idea.
Yep. Well, be safe out there, everyone. There's lots of scams. It's been rampant. They're all over the place. People are trying to prey on people that are new to this environment. That's kind of why we're doing this show, I think, too, is to try to help educate people. Hopefully it helps some. But yeah, that's it for the show. If you guys want to read back through those notes, they're on CoinSecPodcast.com. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and on YouTube. Subscribe, and we'll catch you next week.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Oh. Halloween episode next week.
Oh my!
I have a pitch for the Halloween episode. I say we spend the whole Halloween episode talking about why is the PR or public reputation of cryptocurrency terrible, right? Because everyone is like, cryptocurrency equals scam, right? Or cryptocurrency equals drug dealer, right? We talk about that, and then we also talk about how to stay safe. Getting going door to door in crypto. How do you stay safe? How do you look through your candy to see if there's any, cocaine or other, people just give away cocaine. People just give away drugs. That's what people think, I guess. I don't really know.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Nobody gives away the cocaine.
Thanks, Ryan. All right, guys. Well, that's it for the show. We'll catch you next week. Thanks for watching.
All right. See ya.
Bye, guys.